Set dial.
Garrett J. White, founder of This is Garrett J. White, the authentic entrepreneur, founder of the Pay to Play Academy, where we train struggling network marketers and frustrated entrepreneurs on how to wake up to their divine soul purpose and get paid to play. And today's conversation is about speaking. Now, there's two conversations we can have in the world of speaking. There is what we call the front stage presentation, and there's the backstage preparation. Now, consider for a moment that the power access to be able to be powerful on stage does not exist just on the front stage. It actually begins on the backstage. Now, growing up, my mother used to tell me this, right when I first got married the first time, and that marriage didn't work out, and it crashed and burned like a big, huge ball of flames. But the second marriage I came into, my mother said this, "Hun, sex itself starts at 7 o'clock in the morning." Now, my mind thought, well, I was actually going to have sex at 7 o'clock in the morning with my wife. That wasn't the case, though. What I actually was told was the principle that preparing for intimacy is something that occurs long before the moment of intimacy occurs. Speaking is the same way. Right? When I get out on stage, you could look at getting out on stage as kind of like the intimate moment in your relationship. It's like that moment, right? It's when it actually happens. But the other side of this is all the preparation that leads up to that intimate experience. And speaking is a pretty intimate conversation because you're on stage and you're putting yourself vulnerable to a whole group of people and you're sharing a message and a movement connecting with human beings, and tends to be way more people listening than you just as the individual speaking. So what do you do behind the stage, right? So what we call this is what we call anchoring, and call that this grounding.
Grounding.
So if we were to imagine that this is kind of the sheet, right? There was a sheet, and in the front part of this, was the front stage. This is where I actually do the speaking end. Back here was the backstage. The most important part of your presentation is the foundation that you lay before you get on stage. The most important part of your presentation is the foundation that you lay before you get on stage. So what are some things that you can do when you speak in order to get grounded? See, one of the dilemmas I had was that I get whipped into a frenzy, as you couldn't tell, listening to these videos and watching these presentations and watching the content in these. I've got a lot of content that comes through me, but sometimes I get so excited, I go instead of slowing down. Now, I deliberately go fast in here with these kind of videos because simply why? Because it just keeps your attention, and you have ADD and you won't watch them if we go longer and I talk slower.
So I talk really fast in these videos so that you can absolutely stick with me and again.
I just went too fast and you couldn't catch me. Now, there's a couple things I'm going to introduce you to that I do. They're called patterns or routines. Now, the thing that's cool about patterns and routines is that they invoke emotion, right? They invoke a set way of being, right? So think about this high school music, right? So there was a song called Lady in Red. Do you remember this?
Lady in Red is dancing with me.
Lady in red is dancing with me.
Something like that, I don't remember. But when the song plays, I instantly think of this girl named Kim from my junior year in high school. Now, Kim had long hair, and I would dance with Kim, and I don't know why I did this. I think I half treated her like a dog, and she was probably pissed. What I mean by that is that she had this long hair, and I was like moving my hand down her hair. And actually, during the song, she asked me, she said, "Why are you petting me?" I was like, oh, wow, this is super awkward and uncomfortable. But here I am in the dance, and one of the things that's interesting is when that song, Lady in Red, plays, it triggers a feeling for me of both intense excitement, exhilaration, sexually, physically, mentally, spiritually, and at the same time, the shame that came when she said, "Why are you petting me?" Okay, now there's a perfect example. We all got that high school song that takes us back. But when it comes to the game of being on stage and speaking, you get to consciously create those anchors. One of the anchors that I use behind stage is this. These are what are known as mala beads, right? So these are actually meditation beads from the Hindu and Buddhist practice of meditation. Look very much similar to the Christian tradition of in Catholicism with the rosary. Now, I will use these as an anchor. Now, what I mean by that is just like the song anchored a feeling with the girl, the mala beads backstage anchor a feeling that I want before I go on stage. Now, in future shows, future episodes, I'm going to be showing you how to go about doing this, but I want you to start looking, considering about what you're doing in prep time before you get on stage. One of the other things that I do is I also ascend. I use ascend in meditation. I meditate for 15 minutes, and before I go on stage, I will grab my mala beads, I will wrap them around my hand like this, hold them, and I ground in the following way. I clear my space, and then I bounce a little bit. Kind of like getting ready for a fight, or I'm getting ready for kickoff in football, which takes me back to collegiate football and professional football, and a bunch of the heat and energy used to come with that. But I use the beads, the breath, and I use the routine of the bounce. And these are state changes for me. They impact the way I feel so that when I go on stage, bam, 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 I'm powerful. So I want you to look at your speaking life. What are you doing to prepare? And if you're just running out on stage like a lunatic and you're not basing yourself on any kind of anchor to give you the emotions that you're looking for, well, consider that you're gonna be off and your speaking's just not gonna go that well. So this is Garrett J. White. This has been The Business Breakthrough, and I'm reminding you to be real, be raw, be relevant, and most importantly, to ground yourself before you speak.